Hey guys, this is Argenis with the second video of my PS3 collection update. I have counted my games and I have 284 games. Basically, well, 284 discs. Some boxes have 3 discs, and some discs have 3 games. Like for example, the trilogy, the HD trilogies, like Sly Cooper and all those. So right now I'm covering the 71st game until the 127th one. So without further ado, uh, the first one I have here is Dante's Inferno. This game, I played it on the PSP, finished it, and I decided to get it for the PlayStation 3. I remember when the game was first announced, there was a Facebook app, a game like Mafia Wars, those kind of games, and I got really invested on it, and I wanted to try the real thing. So when the game came to the PlayStation 3, I didn't have the console, but I had a PSP. I still have it, and on the PSP, I had the game and finished the game. But I realized that the PlayStation 3, the PSP version is a shorter version of the game. I started to play this game way back a couple years ago, a few years ago actually, and I got to a part that I never got to see on the PSP. So most likely, and it has to be due to the limitations of the PSP versus the PlayStation 3. But I really enjoy this game. Some people tag it as a bad God of War clone. They do share similar gaming tropes, like those type of quick time events that got popular with RE4 and the first God of War, but were actually first introduced. I think it was like Shenmue or another older game. So that's the first game here. I really like it, and you should give it a try. Next one is the Darksiders collection. This game includes Darksiders 1 and 2 and a discount for the season pass. Unfortunately, the game doesn't have any additional content included on the collection aside from, it says here, contains Darksiders 1 and 2, Season Pass Maker Armor Set, the Abyss Forge, and the Demon Lord Belial. But other than that, it doesn't have the additional content like a collection usually does. But still, I really like the first one. The first one is the one that gets like the most hate out of the first 2 games, and people praise the second one more. And I actually started playing the second one and didn't enjoy much of the changes. Maybe I just need to get used to them. And I jumped to the game as soon as I finished the first one, so maybe I got used to the first one, but I really loved the one with War, and really enjoyed that game. Next one is The Darkness 2. I never played the first one. I'm hoping on getting the first one soon, but I can't find it, and I think that is going up in price. And this one, you basically play as a mafia dude. Is Jackie Estacado, who is also the hero, so to speak, of the first one. So without any spoilers to the main storyline here, on this one, you once again use the power of the darkness, which is those tentacles here. And the game has a cool gameplay feature where I think the first shoulder buttons are used to shooting, and the second ones I think are the ones used for the tentacles. The game is very gory, but it's very satisfying to see some of the deaths. Next one is Dark Souls. Dark Souls is the most popular game of the Souls series or Souls-like games. Is Many people think this is the game that started it all, but it was not this one. It's another one that is coming shortly. I haven't played this game because I want to go first with the Demon Souls, then Dark Souls, and Dark Souls 2. Next up is Dark Void. This game is not very well known. For what I see, it's a third-person shooter with a jetpack on it, and it reminds me of, I think it was a late '90s or early 2000s movie called The Rocketeer. They say it's a cool game, a good game, an okay game, and one of the things that got like markdowns on reviews is that didn't offer any multiplayer. I'm not sure why people are so invested into multiplayer. Okay. In my first video, if you remember, I said that I don't play much horror games, and that is thanks to Silent Hill 1. I was like, I'd say 15, 16 years old, and I was playing the first Silent Hill during daylight, and I was not alone. So I got to the school section of the game. The lights were off. You only have your pocket camera, pocket flashlight, and there are like those kind of zombie kids or something, and there's also like little like baby ghosts or something that they don't do you any harm, but they do alter the static in the radio. So I got to one of the classrooms, the radio started to go crazy. I was looking around, nothing, just with the flashlight, nothing, and all of a sudden I just turn around. Sorry, and there's one of those babies making like the squeaky sound they do, and I literally dropped the controller, turned the PlayStation off, and never touched the game until recently just to show it off. But yeah, that's my story with horror games. So this is a love or hate game as far as I know. I only started the game to see like the intro, and this is the director's cut edition. I'm not sure what's the difference between the director's cut, the collector's edition. I think there's only the director's cut and collector's edition, but I'm not sure what the difference is between the two. The first one, I'm not sure if it was on Dreamcast or on GameCube. I'm not sure. I think it was on Dreamcast. Not sure though. Deadpool is the next one. I got the game not because I'm a Marvel fan. I actually not a Marvel fan. Sorry, guys. And I wanted to get the game because the game started to go up in price because Activision lost the rights to Marvel. The game, I played it a little bit. It's not that much of a great game. It is an okay hacker slash. But that's the one. This is the one that started it all. With the Souls-like, Soul series, whatever. Demon Souls is the first one that actually at the time it was released, even PlayStation president at the time, Yuhei Yoshida, something like that, said that this was not a good game, but started to get cult following, and even now, some of the, I think like the servers were brought up by a group of dedicated users. I think they are called PS1 or something. They are bringing back some disabled servers for online games. Some of the games that they have brought up, I think, is this one, Warhawk. I know for a fact that the first this racing game, what's it called? It's those that like MotorStorm. I think they brought up the first MotorStorm. I think they were working on bringing up. I think they brought up Socom Confrontation in Socom 4. I'm not sure, but I do hope they bring up Mac because I never got to play that game. Next up is Devil May Cry HD Trilogy. These are the type of games that I mentioned that has three games on a single disc. So I only played the first one, finished it back on the PS2. Wasn't a big fan of it, and never got to play the sequels. When I got this one, I started to play the third one because I wanted to go in order. So I might resume it later on. Next up is the hated DMC reboot. I haven't played the game. This was brought up by Ninja Theory, the guys that brought Senua's Sacrifice, and also some other games that escape my mind right now. Um, and this is a I heard that this is a very good hack and slash game, but sadly, it's a Devil May Cry game. So I think a recommendation that we can try is to play the game as a game and not as a Devil May Cry game. So that might work. Next up is Diablo 3 Reaper of Souls Edition. Reaper of Souls, as far as I know, it's an expansion for Diablo 3, and this one has the expansion and the game. So I just watched the intro because this is one of my latest additions to my collection, but I haven't played it yet. I don't play much of this type of games, but I hope to get into it. But sure. Next is Dishonor Game of the Year, which includes it has some DLC already included. The Knife of Dunwall, the Brickmoor Witches, and Dunwall City Trials. This game is a very, very good. I wouldn't call it like a first-person game, or like a first-person adventure game, like BioShock, where you have weapons and you also have abilities. And it's a pretty cool game, very steampunk. Dirt Showdown. I remember that Codemasters used to make great racing games back on the PS1, like the Colin McRae Rally. I never played it, but I read a lot of reviews that said that those games were top quality. So I wanted to have one of their games. A buddy of mine also is selling the third game, complete edition, so I might get that soon. I haven't played it yet. Next up is Doom 3 BFG Edition. This is an HD remaster of Doom 3, and this is where the series try to go more horror oriented instead of just stupid shooting edition or something like that. And I think that much of the fans didn't appreciate the change. I haven't played the game that much, you know why. And one of the main critiques this game had that I think, and for what I heard on a review, it got fixed on this one, is that you couldn't use your flashlight and shoot at the same time, or something like that. So I think that was fixed here. And this one also includes the first and second original Doom games, which is pretty dope. Next up is another of my latest acquisitions. Sadly, it came with no manual, and this is Dragon Age Inquisition. I used to have Dragon Age Origins, but I sold it. Couldn't understand the game at first, but I went to get it again because I saw that there was an edition that had the expansions included, so I'm looking for that one. Next is Dragon Ball Budokai HD. Another game that didn't come with the manual. It has those ugly stickers. I might clean it later, or use a spare box that I have lying around. The only Budokai I played was one in the PSP, which sadly can't remember the name, and it was just a port from a PS2 game. And I wanted to have it because Dragon Ball Z is one of my favorite animes, as it is for a lot of people around the world. My main jam, so to speak, would be Dragon Ball Z from start to Cell Saga. Majin Buu, I watched it once, didn't like it that much. GT never interested me, and Super didn't interest me at all. Worse than GT. I'd rather watch GT. Another game is Battle for Z. This is with the new aesthetic they're using for Super. I watched the movie because I wanted to see how good it was, and it is an okay movie, but what they did to Vegeta, making him look like stupid, is very downgrading. And I think this is like an RPG game, It doesn't have the original cover. It's a very badly printed one. I'm using a FIFA box, so who knows? I'm trying to look for a website or somewhere where I can print the boxes on the right size. Next up is Dragon Ball Raging Blast 2. Yes, another Dragon Ball game that I haven't played, and this one includes a remake of the anime Dragon Ball Plan to Eradicate the Super Saiyans. So let's see how that is. I played that game the other day, and it's actually fun. I haven't played the Budokai, and I haven't played Battle for C. I played it a little bit. Next up is a very interesting game that is also available on the Vita, and I think this was also on Dreamcast or the Saturn. The prequel was on Saturn, which is Dragon's Crown. This game is like Golden Axe, is like a Double Dragon, like Final Fight, with mages, knights, warriors, thieves, witches, and it has a very, very beautiful art style to it. Let me see if I can find a picture here. The game, I got this game very, very new. Actually, it was new, and it came with complete manual. That's the kind of art, and as you see them here, that's the way they look in the game as well. And it's pretty fun game, pretty game. It looks beautiful, and the soundtrack and it's very, very fun. You can play it alone, you can play it with a friend. Another one that I was wanting to get is Dragon Dogma, so I wanted to get this one, which has the expansion and the original game, like the Diablo 3 game that I have. I think there is a Netflix series around Dragon's Dogma. I'm not sure, but I saw a name Dragon Dogma or something. Maybe I'm mistaken with another one. Oh, by the way, and Dragon's Crown is also published by Atlas, as well as the Demon Souls. And if you remember, I'm trying to get all the Atlas published games. Unfortunately, some of those games are very, very bad, and I'm not sure why Atlas produced or published those games. Another one, it's DreamWorks Superstar Cards. This game features characters from different DreamWorks movies like Madagascar, How to Train Your Dragon, Shrek, and another movie about monsters and aliens that I never watched it. The game, it kind of gets boring really, really fast, but I'm trying to get the card games, so good additions to the collection. Another one that is fairly rare, especially on the cheap side, is the Dactyls remastered game. I actually did play the game when I was a kid on the NES. Never finished it. My uncle did. He used to basically beat all the games for us. And this remake has a very beautiful art style. It's like watching the cartoon, the music. It's beautifully remade. People complain about the dialogue on the game, saying that it's like watching the cartoon and then you get to gameplay. I mean, it's a game. It has to have a story. And now that we can actually hear dialogue versus the NES, and having, I think it has the original cast, that's a plus, considering this is from, I don't know, I think it was from the 80s. The cartoon was from the 80s, I think, mid 80s, early 80s, early 90s, I don't know. Pretty cool game. Another one is Earth Defense Force Insect Armageddon. I think this is one of the two games available for the PlayStation 3. Yes, I think, yes, there's another one. It has like a blue cover. Think about this game like a less violent version of Starship Troopers. Next up is Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Game of the Year, which includes the DLC. I think it's Oblivion, Knights of the Nine, and Shivering Isles. I only played the intro a little bit, but I'm so used to Skyrim that I sucked at the game, so I'm gonna have to play it again. I wanted to play the game. I know for a fact that the game is pretty cool, pretty cool. Sorry, many people have this game regarded as the best ESO game. So I mean the best Elder Scrolls game. ESO is Elder Scrolls Online. Next up is Skyrim Legendary Edition, which includes the Hearthfire expansion, Dawnguard, and Dragonborn. I have finished this game's main story, also Dragonborn and the Dawnguard. The other one, the Hearthfire, doesn't have any story to it. It's just expansion to build houses, more items, and all that stuff. Next is El Shaddai. This is a pretty interesting game with a pretty cool art style. You play as Enoch, and it has like religious themes, but they do give you like a quick like a heads up at the start of the game that this game mentions religious themes and it's not intended to offend anyone or anything like that. The game is pretty cool, but it kind of gets repetitive very soon. Next up is Enslaved Odyssey to the West, another game by Ninja Theory. This is the one that I was trying to remember the name for. And this is like a steampunk, futuristic, post-apocalyptic version of the Legend of the Monkey King from China. This game also has Andy Serkis as Monkey, playing the voice and also playing the mocap. Next up is Epic Mickey, The Power of Two. I don't know who Mickey is, but I do know who Mickey is. And I haven't played this game, but I think this game is actually a good game, but didn't sell well, and the developers went down. Another interesting game is Eternal Sonata, which is a game about when composer Chopin was in a coma. They took that as the main story, and he's in a world of fantasy. And I think that one of the interesting things I was hearing that the soundtrack is also about Chopin's music, but remixed for the game. This one is a pretty cool card game, which is F1 Race Stars. This one is Codemasters. And this game features real F1 drivers, super deformed. And it's a pretty cool game. Pretty cool game. It's also, I think it's also kind of rare. Next up is one of my favorite games that I have without a manual, but it's the Game of the Year edition, and that is Fallout 3. I really like the game. I finished the main story, and I was finishing the DLCs when I think that's the time when either my PS3 got stuck when rebooting, and that had to format my HDD, or maybe it was when I bought a 1.5 terabyte hard drive that had to lose my saves, but it was for the greater good. Next up is Fallout New Vegas Ultimate Edition, which includes all the DLC. I got this game, and it was the Latin American edition, which I thought that it had Latin American Spanish, but it didn't. It had Spanish from Spain. So I posted it on Marketplace if someone wanted to change the disc, because I wanted to play the game on English, because for some reason the game didn't have any English, only Spanish and I think like Italian or something. I'm not sure, but it didn't have any English. So I posted it on Marketplace and I said, hey, who has the Ultimate Edition? I want to play the game in English. This one only has Spanish, so but it has European Spanish. And the guy was like, hey, I'm up for it. So we only changed the discs. This one is the Latin American edition. It has the age, it has it like 18 years old, which is the majority of age here when you're supposed to be an adult. Next up is a Far Cry compilation, which includes Far Cry 2, 3, and a Blood Dragon. I'm playing 2. I'm loving it. I played 3. I loved it. I played Blood Dragon. I loved it. And it's pretty cool collection. This is the only way that you can get Blood Dragon in physical. So look for it. I think it's starting to go up in price, but it doesn't have any manual for either game. And next up is Far Cry 4 Kirat Edition. Sorry, limited edition. This one includes single player missions and the Impeller Harpoon gun, which is kind of cool. This was given to me in the Kirat edition, which includes, upon the goodies, it includes a figure of Pagan Min, like this one. About this game, this is my favorite Far Cry. I love the third one, and I think Vast is a great villain. And considering that he was not going to be featured in the game, and the developers were in love with Michael Mando's audition, that he went even to the cover, the way Vast is dispatched in the game totally sucks for such an amazing character. And but you know what to get with Vast. You know that the guy is crazy. But with Pagan Min, I find it to be more sinister, because he could be good, he could be evil. You don't know what you're gonna get, and that's something that really caught me and really got me invested into the game. And I really like this guy. I think it's one of the best villains in the Far Cry, um, and also about any other games. Fear 2, I haven't played it. I know it's a scary shooter, so I might never play it. And I'm joking, because I will eventually play it. The third one, I think this is more action oriented, so I might start with that one. I haven't got the first one. Next up is an interesting racing, which is Ferrari Challenge. This game is a simulator, so expect to lose control of your car fairly easy. And it says here it's published by Activision, but I don't know who made the game. Eutechnics or something. The game looks okay, but who knows. Okay, I have FIFA 10 because I bought a bunch of games for a low price, and this was included. So then I bought another bunch of games and also included the game. So I said, okay, I'll keep one and I'll either sell or give the other one. Next up is The Fight Lights Out. I'm not sure if it featured Danny Trejo, but there is Danny Trejo. So I got this game because I had to. I purchased the PlayStation Move, and then I purchased another PlayStation Move to have 2 Move controllers and also 1 directional controller. I don't know how it's called, and this was included. So that's it. This was included in another bunch of games I got, which is Fight Night Round 3. This is a release game for the PlayStation 3. Final Fantasy 13. A lot of people hated the game. I only played it for like 3-4 hours, but since I get a lot of games constantly, sometimes I stop buying games for months, then I resume. I left it and I forgot how to play it, so I'll start it again. I know the game takes long to get interesting, so we'll see. Next up is a game that I found by a chance, and I found it for 200 Mexican pesos, which is about 17 US dollars, 18 US dollars, and that is Fist of North Star, Ken's Rage. And I think that in Japan and Europe, I think this is the second one, or there is a second one that never made it to America. But the cool thing is that the game came with instructions. The box is busted, and the cover is also busted. This is the actual cover, so that sucks. But I might look for a way to print it because it has that just white back. Some games have like an alternate cover, like Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Next up is Operation Flashpoint, which I got fairly cheap. I wanted to have these games because I heard these are very realistic. These are made by Codemasters. The game doesn't have any manual, and there is 2, Flashpoint Dragon Rising, and there's another River something, I don't know, or Dragons. No, that's the Dragon Rising. Next up is Fracture by LucasArts. I used to have this game way back when, shortly after I got my PlayStation 3, and I sold it because I think I wanted to have another game, or I exchanged it, I'm not sure. And the game has an interesting mechanic where you can reshape the ground. You have your weapon, and you have like a special weapon or ability, I don't remember, which you can shoot the ground. You can make the ground rise, you can lower the ground. Some grenades also you do that to the ground, and I think that was a very cool mechanic to implement. This is one of those rare multi-platform games by Insomniac, which is Fuse. The game reviewed bad, but I heard that the game is not as bad as they say. This was also available on the 360 before they were acquired by Sony, of course. This is another Atlas published game, which is the Game of Thrones. I'm not a fan of Game of Thrones, but I'm a fan of Atlas, and I'm trying to collect all the Atlas published games. I got the game very, very cheap for like 100 pesos. That's like $6-7. Didn't have a manual, but I know for a fact that the game does have a manual. So there's someone who sells games close to my home, and they do have this game. So I might tell them if they can sell me the manual. Next up is Ghostbusters. This game it's very expensive right now, and this is because one of the actors, the actor who played Egon, and I'm sorry I don't have a name right now, he passed away, and I think this is his last or one of his last works. So having his voice immortalized in the game added value to the game. So that's it. Next up is God of War Ascension. I wanted to have the God of War games on the PS3, even though at first I didn't like the first God of War on the PS2. When I played the PSP games, I really liked it, so I say, hey, what the hell, let's give it a chance. The thing about God of War Ascension is that this came after God of War 3, when people wanted to have continuation of God of War 3, and instead got a prequel. So the game is great, it's very, very fun, but it didn't do anything else to the series, and it didn't tell any interesting side of Kratos' story. Something that it would have been interesting in a prequel is to see Kratos before he got the ashes of his family all over him. That would have been great. And this game touches that a little bit, but only like in flashbacks and cutscenes. Next up is God of War Origins Collection, which includes an HD port of Chains of Olympus, the first PSP game, and Ghost of Sparta. I already beaten those. God of War Collection, which includes 2 and 3. 2 and 3, 1 and 2 HD remasters from the PlayStation 2. I haven't played the second one. I already finished the first one. So I'm currently playing the second one to go into God of War 3 because I'm playing the games in order. If you want to go in order, you got to start with Ascension, Chains of Olympus, 1, Ghost of Sparta, 2, 3, and then jump to the 2018 and Ragnarok, which I haven't played because I got stuck collecting on the PlayStation 3 and I stopped buying consoles. Next up is God of War 3. Nothing else to be said about this game. I haven't played it, but I know for a fact that the game is a great game. Next up is GoldenEye Reloaded 007, GoldenEye 007 Reloaded. This is a remaster of, I think it was a Wii game. Which was, I don't remember if it was just called GoldenEye 007 or GoldenEye Rogue Agent, because there have been like 3 GoldenEye games, including the 64 game, Nintendo 64 game, which is regarded as one of the best first-person shooters ever. I did play it with a friend because I didn't have a 64. And it's also regarded to be the best or among the best 007 games. The game is not that great. It's one of those non-Call of Duty shooters by Activision that they try to emulate Call of Duty gameplay into it. And one of the things that I hated the most about the game is that I don't remember using any gadgets. So that sucks. Next up is Grand Theft Auto 4, which I have finished it a lot of time ago, and I'm currently revisiting the game again. Pretty cool game. Next up is the episodes from Liberty City, the expansion to GTA 4. There is also a complete edition which includes both on the same, 3 on the same discs. So you might need to download it. So thankfully I didn't have it. I don't have it. Next up is San Andreas HD port. This game I think didn't review well. because it does have some glitches. I played the game and I played it as I did on the PS2, the same glitches and stuff. So I'm not sure what happened. What I what I ever what I did like about San Andreas ever since I got on the PS2 is that the gameplay upgrades from previous GTA games. Still, my favorite game is still Vice City. Next up is GTA 5, which I haven't played, and I don't plan to play that game soon. Basically, because I heard a lot about this game, I watch reviews, I watch gameplay, and even though the game is a beautiful game for the PS3, and for an older game, even though they implemented some cool mechanics, I hated the characters, especially I think it's called Trevor. I think I don't know. I didn't like the character at all. Um, and I mean, if I don't like the character, I wouldn't like to be playing as the character, which is one of the things that happened to me with the first God of War when I played it back on the PS2, and also with the first Devil May Cry when I played it back on the PS2. So will I play it? Eventually, yes. When? I don't know, and I don't care. Why do I have it? Because I didn't need to have it, but I'm collecting, so I had to have another GTA. And the last game for this list is Gran Turismo 5. I've been playing Gran Turismo since the PS1, PS2, and PSP. And the one thing that I hated about them all, except the PSP version, is the licenses. I never played GTA 4. I mean GT4, so I'm not sure how that plays. And but I hated the fact that your advanced is locked to your progress in the license. And I mean, I want to play the game, and I don't want to be like restricted to a license when the license could be implemented like in the PSP. And I think this one, for what I played, I think that this one is just implemented to get more points translated into more money to get better cars. So and also you level up. I think it has like that RPG mechanic, I think. So that's my 127th game, and I'll try to make the new video soon. Um, Again, I'm not doing this for like the views or anything. I actually got excited that my first video was having like 5 views, and from one day to another day it had like 31 views. I was like, oh man, that's great. So for those few guys and girls watching, I really thank you. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you soon with the third part. Take care.